there was also announced in Sheffield what will be a blockbuster. About 12 or 13,000 people will attend it March 17th with Matthew Hatton, our kid, as Ricky, his big brother, used to call him, against Sheffield's unbeaten Kell Brook, Ezekiel Brook. And that, I've decided, is the only place to start tonight. So I spoke to Kell a bit earlier and I asked him if a night like this in Sheffield, at that fantastic Sheffield Arena, or whatever it's called these days, will remind him of the glory days when Ryan Rhodes, Johnny Nelson and, of course, the king of all Sheffield, well, the prince, Nassim Hamed, fought there in front of capacity crowds.
Watch the full Monties. I remember watching that when I was a young kid growing up, and it's always been the place where I wanted to headline, and my dreams have come true now.
See, this fight, this is better. I mean, this is one of those fights. This is better than fighting some unknown and potentially more dangerous fighter, because this is the type of fight that fans want to see. Yeah,
fans need to see this fight. You know, it's been talked about before. A lot of people are saying, you know, he's gone on and he's boxed for a world title. He went in against Oliver at light middleweight, and you know, he's boxed all over America and he's undercard his brother's fights. And I think, you know, any doubt of that there, it'll put aside, you know, them, because it's number 1 v number 2, and we're going to see whoever wins this fight goes on to a world title.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely guaranteed. And also, Kell, I mean, I think that because Matthew's proud, and I think he's a much better fighter than anyone has ever given him credit for, I think that it's going to be a test for you, because I'm trying to rack my brains and think when you last lost the round, let alone came close to losing a fight. When do you think you last lost the round?
I ain't got a clue, Bunsey. I don't know. You know, I train hard, and I know that Matthew's gonna, you know, he's gonna be wearing his heart on his sleeve. You know, this is the fight for him, and he's gonna bring best out of me. And you know, we're gonna hit each other head on, and fireworks March 17th.
Now, one thing that struck me, Kell, remember before the Lovemore Indu fight, I remember talking to you, and you beat him comfortably. You won every single round, as far as I'm concerned. But remember I said to you I was a bit concerned that you might go out to try and stop him, because no one had ever stopped him. You won't make that mistake against Matthew, will you? Try and go one better than Canelo Alvarez and leave yourself a bit exposed. You don't think you won't make that mistake, will you?
No, I've been doing this since I was a 9-year-old. You know, I know my way around the ring, and you know, no one's ever stopped Matthew, and obviously I'm training hard, very, very hard for this fight. I'm very excited about this fight, and I would love to get Matthew out of there. I would like to see him reach that final 12 bell, and that's what I'll be planning on doing. You know, if I do hurt him, I'll be looking at finishing him.
And, of course, another good thing about this fight is that it's back in Sheffield. You've got Dominic and John there. Brendan's still involved. It's like the glory days, for, as you say, when you were a kid in the gym. It's great. I'm delighted about it, I am.
Glory days, you know. We've got a buzz in the air back in the gym. We all have a laugh, and, you know, the old days rewind. I remember watching them, and now I'm number 1 now in the gym, and it's my time to shine on the night.
You have been patient, Kell. I must admit, you have been patient, you know, through some fights that haven't really tested you. But do you think that 2012, this being the first fight, and then a world title fight, hopefully sometime after the summer, do you think does this have to be Kell Brook's year?
No doubt about it, Bunsen. No doubt about it. I'll be fighting for a world title this year. This is my year. You know, this is where the big fights happened for me, 2012. You know, I've got a daughter early February, so this year is going to be the making of Kell Brook.
And Kell will be fighting Matthew Hatton, Ricky Hatton's younger brother. He's been around 12 years. 12 years. This will be his 50th fight. He's a veteran. He's a proper old-school veteran. Now, he used to get a lot of abuse. He was just called, you know, Ricky's little brother, and that he was getting easy matches. Well, actually, if you start to analyse and look at the fights he was given, he wasn't given easy fights. And he had a brilliant fight on a show promoted by his dad and his brother against a really tough African called Lovemore Indu. And I thought he won it clearly, and he got a draw. That was on a show promoted by his dad, with his mum sitting at ringside. I bet Ray got some stick later on from the mum, and Ricky was the promoter. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I spoke to Matthew, and I started by asking him, quite simply, I had to be quite brutal with it. I started by asking him that, Matthew, is possible that surely there were easier fights out there for you?
Yeah, you know, probably true. You know, I'm up there now in all the governing bodies, and with respect, so is Kell. So yeah, I know what you're saying, but it's not really my style, to be honest. You know, as a fighter, you know, I feel you've got to fight the best people out there, and this is a fight that people want to see. Even when I was European champion, people was still coming up to me saying, yeah, but, you know, you're not as good as Kell, Brook, and maybe it's been the same for him, you know, being European champion, going back to schoolboy days. It's like someone coming up to you and say, yeah, you might be this, but you're not even the cock of your school. So I think on the 17th we'll finally find out who is the number one fighter domestically.
We certainly will. Now, before this was agreed, Matt, how close were you and your dad and your brother Ricky and Speaky and co to getting you an alternative another world title fight? I mean, was that nearly made?
Yeah, it was. It was very nearly made. And you know, you know what boxing's like, Steve. Yep. Sometimes things happen and fights fall through, and I was absolutely gutted at the time. So that fight fell by the wayside, and I'm a firm believer you've got to take the best fights that are there. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know what's going to happen around the corner. You've got to take the opportunities when they're there. And Eddie Hearn gave us a good offer to fight Kell, Brook. It's a fight I always knew would happen, and I've always fancied. So why not?
Absolutely, why not? Because the mad thing is, Matt, and I know I've talked about this about 7 or 8 months ago before you went out to fight Alvarez, that you know, you're coming up to 50 fights now. So you've gone from this, you know, kid that, you know, and we talked about this as well, about how you've been overlooked and neglected. You're on 50 fights. You've been a pro 12 years. You're part of the furniture. It's this is actually my 50th fight. 50th fight, yeah.
So, you know, a bit of a landmark there for me. And, I'm very proud to have racked up 50 fights. And I certainly don't want Kell spoiling the party. I want my 50th fight to be a memorable one, and I'm sure it will be.
You've had some great nights, mate. You've had obviously some fantastic fights and some fantastic nights. And then, obviously, you know, fighting alongside your brother on some of those nights. But I've got to be honest with you, this big sort of homecoming for Kell, return of big-time boxing to Sheffield, which is for all boxing fans, this could be well up there with this could be a top 3 fight, couldn't it, for you? Top 3 fight memory. Absolutely,
yeah. You know, the interest has been massive, really, since the fight was announced yesterday. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. And, I think I'd looked on the internet before, and I think half the tickets have gone already. They was originally opening the fight up for 9,000, and I read on the internet that it was, you know, they're going to have to open it up for 12. So
come on,
that's going to be absolutely fantastic. The atmosphere is going to be great. I'll be taking a large contingent down from Manchester, so the atmosphere on the night will be great, and I can't wait.
And I tell you, you've had some of those great atmosphere nights. Oh, listen, I know I've talked to you before about it, but I'm going to ask you again about that Saul Alvarez fight last year. It's a fight that you took originally. It was meant to be at welterweight, and then suddenly the world title came on hand, and there was all sorts of deals and counter deals about weights and stuff, but you still got in there. You went 12 rounds. You were there at the end. That was a great break. I know you lost, but it was a great break, that fight, in many ways, wasn't it, Matt?
It was. Sometimes, you know, you can win in defeat, really, and I think that was the case with that night. Even though I was European champion and I was undefeated European champion, I got more recognition and more you know,
respect.
Sure. Yeah, from that fight, really. Even though I lost the fight, and even though it was a tough night's work for me, you know. Going the 12, you know, I went over there, you know, it was a hostile atmosphere, you know, travelling all that distance. And on the night of the fight, you know, gave away 9 pounds in weight to a quality opponent. And I stood up to everything that he dished out and, you know, come out of the fight. And that fight has filled me, I've always believed in myself and been confident, but that's even re-established my thoughts that I can win a world title at welterweight. And you know, things like that happening, you know, those experiences make you a stronger fighter, and I think that will be the case, and I think I'll show that on the 17th.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I spoke to Kell a bit earlier, and one of the things I said to him is, I said, look, Kell, I'm being honest, mate, I can't think about when you've lost the round, and of course that's not necessarily a good thing, is it? If you've had everything your way, and you know, in some fights that are sort of easy fights, as you've proven through your career, it doesn't always work out, does it? Just knocking over bums.
Yeah, you know, and that's, you know, I've got a lot of respect for Kell. He's a good fighter. He's got a lot of talent, and he's not really been in tough fights so far.
Which he admits. He admits that. He says, I haven't lost a round, you know?
Yeah, and that's because, you know, he's been so much better than the opposition he's faced. You know, guys like Lovemore Nadu, Rafael Jaskovic, you know, these are good fighters, but he made them look very ordinary. But, you know, this will be a tough fight. There's no doubt in my mind, and I think in his mind, that this will be his toughest fight. So, you know, he's got some questions to ask, and, you know, he'll be asking them on the 17th.
It has been a truly amazing journey with you, Matthew, and I talked about this last year before the Alvarez fight, win or lose. I said already that you'd gone further than anybody, certainly within the boxing media, really gave you credit for, and I think a lot of people would have been fairly harsh on you. And now suddenly you're topping the bill, right, in a fight in Britain in front of 12 or 13,000 people in an all-British domestic massive showdown. I've got to be honest with you, Matt. 7, 6, 8, 9, 5, 4, 3 years ago, that would have been something that was even in your wildest dreams you must have thought might never happen.
Yeah, you know, I have had a slow burning career, and I've had me ups and downs, and you know, me difficult patches in my career and disappointing results.
Sure.
But I think they've all come together to make me the fighter I am today, really, and. You know, I'm getting better with age. I'm only 30, like you say. I've had, you know, this will be my 50th contest, but I'm definitely, you know, and no one can dispute this. I'm getting better all the time. The last couple of years have been by far the best in my career, and I can feel myself improving again. So even though I've had a lot of fights, you know, been professional a lot of years, I do still think that the best years are still to come. I really do.
It's amazing, really. Yeah, I mean, I do it. It makes me chuckle every time I look back, and there's good names littered throughout, and I just think you just keep going. You're the only guy. If you look at Boxing Monthly's ratings, you're the only guy ranked in all of the divisions in Britain, from heavyweight down to flyweight. You're the only guy in there with anywhere near 50 fights. The only guys with 49 fights are guys like, you know, are guys that are losers, serial losers. You know, guys that have lost 57 and won 2. You're the only guy in their rankings, and they go down to 10 in each weight division. And you're the only guy with anything like that amount of fights. I think it's testimony.
It's nice to know, and like I say, I am getting better with age, you know, and I still feel fresh. I'm enjoying my boxing more than ever. So how many will I rack up before I retire? I don't know.
Well, I tell you what, I fancy you might get to like 75. You'd be pushing like Hopkins and co. Because the way you're going, as you say, you're getting better with age, you're looking better with age, you're enjoying it more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I tell you, it's nice living well. You're living a bit better as well. You know, you're nice and relaxed.
Yeah, that's true. That's there. I mean, I am. You know, I am living better out of the ring. You know, not putting on as much weight between fights, and you know, all those fights, all the experiences, you know, stand me in good stead for this fight. Even things like preparing for fights. You know, as fights go by, you learn how to prepare a little bit better, look after yourself better, and yeah, I'm just enjoying my boxing, and I can't wait for this fight. I think you know, people. Saying Kell's a favourite going into this fight, and maybe that's fair, but I certainly don't see him as a favourite. This is a fight I go into, you know, not hoping to win, confident of winning, expecting to win.
No, I think it's a classic 50-50, the big domestic fight, because I think they'll definitely, I think they'll slightly underestimate you, and I think they'll also underestimate what can happen in big fights when there's capacity, crowds, and there's a lot at stake.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I hope so, Steve.
No, strange things happen on those nights, don't they? You know that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we saw that enough with some of your brother's opponents, some of Ricky's opponents.
Absolutely.
You know, tell you what, strange things happen. Listen, Matt, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Steve.
See you closer to the fight. Say hello to everybody for me.
Will do. Thanks, Steve. Bye, mate.